My name is Flori Kwaku. This is a presentation on the Nayati's case analysis, Indian Child Welfare Act, better known as ICWA. Nayati Locklear is a 10-year-old male who is currently in the United States of America foster care system due to a history of behavioral health issues and possible neglect by his biological mother. He was recently placed in an intensive care home and appears to be thriving by child welfare standards. This progress has prompted the current parents to seek legal rights to adopt him, or at the very least, to secure permanent in their home. In preparation for the upcoming court hearing to terminate parental rights of Nayati's mother, Sikh Nayati's father is deceased, the social worker discovered Nayati's biological family is primary Native American, including both parents and several grandparents. All are part of the Kohari tribe, which is federally recognized Indian tribe. This data was not documented in any of Nayati's previous case records. Based on the Indian Child Welfare Act ICWA of 1978, this impacts several aspects of his case, included but not limited to the terms of his ability to be adopted or placed with a non-native family. Here lies the issue with Nayati. Nayati's biological family is now discovered. Nayati's extended family are members of the Kohari tribe. Kohari is a recognized Indian tribe. This information, unfortunately, was never discovered during the beginning stages of the adoption or Nayati being placed in foster care. Nayati's mother did not disclose this information. Either she did not disclose it or it was not followed through, or extensive background search was never conducted to figure out where this Nayati is coming from or who are his extended families. Now you're probably wondering, what does Nayati's case have to do with ICWA? Why are we presenting this information? Nayati case has everything to do with compliance with ICWA because Nayati, it was discovered that he is part of the Indian tribe. So therefore it affects various aspects of his case. His adoption and placement options are affected because you cannot have a child with Indian bloodline placed with a non-native parents. Also, there are certain rights and responsibilities of the state, certain compliance issues that the state must follow in order to be compliant with the rules and regulations of ICWA of 1978. Throughout American history, as we know, as Americans, the Native Americans have a very vast, long history on how property, they have lost the land, everything was pretty much taken away from the Native Americans. This is something history that can never be changed because it is what that is part of our history. Native Americans has lost a lot of their belongings, lost a lot of their heritage, lost a lot of their culture, and most important, lost a lot of their land and lost their identity. So we can pretty much empathize with why they are seeking to continue their bloodline or to keep their culture, preserve their culture. Throughout history, Native American children were typically removed from their homes or tribal communities and placed in non-native institutions and homes. This was carried out due to various factors such as cultural bias and stereotypes. Some stereotypes meaning that children needed to be taught how to be civil and to feel that if they were placed with non-native parents, then they would better assimilate into society or fit societal norms. The actions led to the loss of their cultural identities and language. The goal of ICWA is to address the issue and preserve the Native American culture, their rituals, and their identities. They do have a rich culture, rich rituals, and identities that, if not protected, would become obsolete, and eventually disappear from history. So ICWA recognizes the significance of the traditions of the and heritage of the Native American children. Due to children being removed from their Native American homes and placed in other foster care homes with no affiliation with Native American cultures, uh, the Indian Child Welfare Act, better known as ICWA, was enacted, which is a federal law in 1978. It was designed to protect the welfare of Native American children, and its mission was to keep Native American children with their tribes whenever possible. ICWA's aims for tribal sovereignty and self-determination, placement preference for Native American children within the Native American community or Native American families. Active efforts is to prevent the breakup of Native American families, such as providing resources necessary to keep the children within their Native American homes, communities, and households. And it aims to preservation of the Native American heritage and culture. ICWA applies to a child custody proceeding involving an Indian child, to put it simply. It includes foster care, adoption, and termination of parental rights. Priority is given to placement within the extended family, tribal community, or with other native family. Preference for keeping siblings together, non-native placements is used as a very last resort. ICWA only protects American Indian and American Indian children who are unmarried, 18 and under, a tribal member, or eligible for membership and has biological parents who are a tribal member. As we can tell, based on the findings, Nayati's family or grandparents are tribal members and has Native American blood in their system, so he qualifies for protection under the ICWA. Active efforts required state case manager to make efforts to actively assist a family in making the changes necessary to keep a child in their home, or to make the changes necessary for a child to return safely and reunify with their family. After active efforts must be undertaken to provide services after an investigation and before a decision is made to place a child out of the home. In Nayati's case, it does not state whether or not, which we can all assume that it was not, active effort was not made because they did not have put forth enough effort to provide Nayati's mom, Siki, with the proper resources. We know Nayati had behavioral issues. We know Nayati's mom had difficulties going to the doctors to seek out the medications. We know she was a single mom who had some post trauma issues, grief issues, recently going through a divorce. So she was a single mom that needed the resources. So, with active efforts, if the agency tried hard enough, they could have provided Nayani's mom with enough resources to address Nayadi's behaviors and medication needs or mental health needs prior to placing him in a foster home. The number one priority or the goal is to keep the Native American families together. It is to preserve the child's tribal and cultural connections, provide the families with resources, and therefore address the underlying issues that caused the removal of the child. In Nayati's case, it was neglect or medical neglect because Nayati had not had behavioral concerns or behavioral issues that were not addressed through medication. ICWA's overall goal is to promote the interests of Native American children and to protect their cultural heritage. Active efforts means not just identification of the challenges of a family faces, but also providing resources. It requires the state case manager to make efforts to actively assist a family in making the necessary changes to address the needs of the child prior to removal or termination of parental rights. Making an active effort involves a higher standard. You're not just looking to pacify the superficial problems, but you're going in with a deeper eye to discover the deeper needs of the child or the family and to make every effort into resolving these issues or addressing the issues, and not only just addressing but providing resources so that the number one priority is to keep the Indian family intact. Active efforts also includes more intensive and proactive approach to addressing issues that may lead to the child's removal. In Nayadi's case, it was the fact that he had behavioral concerns and he needed to take medication, and because of maybe mom's underlying issues with losing her previous husband, Nayadi's father, and going through a divorce, it may have cost her some type of mental issues, anxiety, depression. So services must be targeted, culturally relevant, and purposeful. So in looking into a family for removal or temporary or termination of parental rights, all these issues must be addressed, keeping in consideration with cultural relevance and be purposeful. You must also respect the Native American traditions, values, and practices and beliefs. Active Active efforts also include proper documentation of your steps that you are taking to demonstrate that you are taking these efforts or making a conscious effort to keep the Indian family together. You must also maintain records of efforts in facilitating or preventing child removal or reunification. You must ensure that accountability and transparency is kept or maintained between the state and the tribal government, and you must tailor to the specific needs of each family. This is not a one size fit all type of situation. You must look at the needs of the family, you must look at the needs of the child, and whether or not the needs of the child can be met by the family's current circumstances. And if it cannot, then you must take the proper steps necessary to address the needs, provide the resources and solutions until all else has failed. As stated in the previous slide, cultural sensitivity, cultural importance is what is driven by ICWA, or is what ICWA is driven by. ICWA prioritizes the protection of their Native American culture. They want to preserve the cultural identity in their children. ICWA prioritizes the importance of nurturing the Native American children's ties to their culture, heritage, and tradition. Court and child welfare agency must take cultural sensitivity into account when dealing with Native American children in the foster care system. Preference is made by ICWA when it comes to placing Native American children with their extended family or tribe to ensure continuity of their culture. In cases involving the preservation of cultural ties, tribal officials play a vital role as they can ensure that such connections are respected. Being able to maintain cultural ties is regarded as beneficial for Native Americans. It promotes their well being and it enhances their identity. Children who are connected culturally and places importance on their tradition has a better sense of adjustment into our community. They don't have to feel insecure or a sense of not belonging within different cultures. They have a sense of confidence when being able to when they are being raised within the same tradition, same household, same cultural beliefs. And this is why ICWA places such a high importance to preserve their cultural heritage, traditions, and goals. Sensi- Cultural sensitivity. Why is it important? Cultural humility differs from cultural competence. It involves an emphasis on self-reflection, respect for other cultures, and willing to learn about different traditions. This concept is crucial when working with Indian children. If you don't understand the Indians or the Native Americans' standpoint, why this is important to them, you will not prioritize the need for the children to be placed in Native American households. So you must practice a sense of cultural not only competence but also humility, a willingness to learn and understand and be empathetic and know why the Native Americans feel so strongly about preserving their cultural background. It helps to develop a better understanding of the culture of children and builds trust between their families and child welfare workers. In moving forward and avoiding embarrassing situations, such as in the Nayati case. Here we have a family who is capable and willing of adopting a child in need, and because of some lack of resource or lack of education, this case becomes complicated. That way, the foster parents may become discouraged and not want to take in Nayati. And Nayati, now having one sense of stability, now is being exposed to being unstable. Again, once more, remember Nayati's father passed away when he was younger. His stepfather, who was the only male stable father figure in his life, is now gone and only spends time with with his biological children. So Nayati is probably feeling some type of rejection, and this feeling could have been avoided had the agency done the work or had knowledge or education about the about ICWA. So early identification during the early stages of child welfare cases is important so that you will know about the cultural heritage of Native American children. In doing so, the agency would ensure that they are doing their due diligence and showing active effort. Also, during your research, you can work collaboratively if the child is identified of having a Native American background. The agency will work together with the tribal governments to ensure that compliance that the agency is compliant with ICWA. What criteria must the agency meet in order to meet compliance? There are several areas of compliance in regards to ICWA. The first step is early identification of Native American children. So when you receive a child, enough research, searches of the background of the child, family, showing active efforts to reach out to all family members, living, dead, to figure out the origin of the child, whether or not they have Native American blood. And then in moving forward, all active efforts must be taking place, which involves different steps, which involves reaching out to the extended family, the community, or providing resources to avoid removal of the child from their biological parents. Then you must also have qualified expert witnesses that can attest to the information that is being presented. And when all else fails, placement preferences must be made with the Native American family over the non-Native American family. How is compliance assessed? With every program, with every act, there must be a way to assess that the act is being put in place with fidelity by the judges, the lawyers, and the case workers. One way for compliance to be assessed is through judicial record review. This one is easily assessed because the records are public information. You can look to see whether there's compliance with the equal laws. You can see, and it's relatively objective in clarity and easy to follow invariance and compliance rate over time. Pacing data may be collected that the coder's on pace. Judicial records may present more detailed in showing active efforts. Recommendations. How can we improve the agency moving forward and learning from the Nayati's case? Emphasis on the importance of training of all professionals involved. Social workers, caseworkers, lawyers, and judges need to be educated on each aspect or part of the equal law and how to implement it with fidelity. Consistent use of measurement tools such as the judicial case review, focus groups, structured interviews, surveys, and observations. This allows each person to work with transparency and to keep themselves or hold each other accountable for knowing that they are following the equal laws. Proper funding to ensure active efforts is being made. With research comes with lots of footwork, lots of individuals, lots of moving parts, and therefore it requires money. A lot of the caseworkers are overworked, understaffed. A lot of the agencies are understaffed, burdened with high volumes of cases, and not have enough people to go out and put in the manpower to search for families and conduct the research. So having the funding will allow the agency to provide resources to ensure that the family is not separated and the child remains within their biological home with their native parents. So resources comes with lots of money, which requires resource. In Nayati's case, he required resources for doctors, medical attention. Maybe the mother didn't have enough money to buy the prescriptions, or she didn't have any resources to seek mental health to address her own issues. Therefore, she can be a better parent. With the agency providing those resources to the mother and the family, it would ensure that Nayati would have remained in the home with his mother, which takes a lot of money and funding. We are all privy to the mishap or the lack of research done in Nayati's case. Now we are looking to move forward to better serving children that may come into the care of the agency. So the strategies that the agency can adopt to move beyond compliance to better serve the population would be to enact culturally appropriate services, meaning find out what is necessary for Nayati to remain in the home with his mother, what is culturally acceptable, what is relevant to the culture, whether it's education, whether it's resources to address their immediate needs. Also, ongoing self evaluation of the agency, having everyone be transparent, collecting data on each, making sure each caseworker is dotting their I's, crossing their T's, conducting the research, and prioritizing family preservation, meaning that everyone is culturally sensitive, culturally competent, and culturally humble, and knowing that this is an important act that affects many, many families, especially the Native Americans, and the reasons behind the act, not just a piece of document, but the reason for the act, keeping all of those things at the top of your memory when in taking a child. In conclusion, ICWA is a vital piece of legislation that pays tribute to the historical injustices endured by Native American families and children within the child welfare system. It was enacted to put an end to these issues, safeguards the rights of tribal nations, and preserve their culture. We can go beyond the Native American children and talk about any other culture, whether it be the African American culture, the Haitian culture, Jamaican culture, whichever act a caseworker should make every effort to make sure that they are working the case and keeping the family united as part of priority, un unless there are situations that are not fixable, such in the cases of immediate danger or where the child's welfare and safety is compromised.